Hello, folks. Dr. Ken Berry, family physician, with you this early evening, coming to you on a Sunday to answer some questions. Every day I see the questions and the comments that you leave on my YouTube videos, and I realize that sometimes you need more than just a 1 or 2 word answer. So I try to do these lives as often as I can, either here or on my Instagram, also on my TikTok. I even have a Clapper. Are you on Clapper? So if you're on any of those social media, I also go live there occasionally. So make sure and follow me there. I saw a super chat before I got started from Danette saying, should apple cider vinegar ever be avoided except if you have a gastric ulcer? And I think the answer is no. Very often people ascribe magical benefits to apple cider vinegar, but it doesn't really have any magical benefits. The only magical benefit I can find from apple cider vinegar is when you make a YouTube video about it, you're going to get at least 100,000 views because people seem to be enamored with apple cider vinegar. Even if you had a documented gastric ulcer, apple cider vinegar shouldn't really be contraindicated. Your stomach acid is thousands of times more acidic than apple cider vinegar. Your stomach lining's not even going to be able to detect that you took a swallow of apple cider vinegar, even if you have an active gastric ulcer. So I wouldn't worry about that. Also, I wouldn't run out and buy expensive apple cider vinegar thinking it's going to give you magical benefits. Millie says that ACV gives her heartburn. Back when I used to have severe heartburn before keto, I would take a swallow of ACV, and it seemed to help my reflux pain. Who knows? Hey, Ellen Grace, watching all the way from Hong Kong. Where are you guys at? There's Lisa in Arkansas. What city, what state, what country? Where are you at in the world right now? Also, to help me reach and help as many people as possible, please share this video on your social media. If you know someone who needs to hear this information, you can tag them in the comments, I think, if they have a YouTube account, or you can just share this with them in a text message or an email. Let's see what we've got. I thought I saw a question go by. Yeah, there it was. Rob says, I've lost 45 pounds on keto 3 years ago, messed up and gained some of it back. On carnivore for 2 months, lost 7 pounds, and I'm stalled out. I was taking metformin before. Does this help with weight loss? The research is fairly equivocal on whether you're going to get a net benefit with regards to weight loss from taking metformin. Now, it definitely will help your glucose and insulin metabolism if you are pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic. You definitely shouldn't take it if you're a type 1 diabetic. But as far as weight loss, not a lot of research supporting that it has a big weight loss effect. It seems like for most people, the first time you go keto or carnivore, you have the quickest and largest amount of weight loss. And then if you fall off the wagon and you gain some back, when you go back on keto or carnivore, that second time or that third time, the weight loss still happens, but it doesn't feel like it happens as quickly as it did that first time. And so, Rob, just keep doing what you're doing. I promise you guys, the fat loss, which is what you really want, you don't want to lose bone or muscle. The fat loss is going to come. Just stick with the proper human diet, which can be low carb with very clean ingredients, keto, ketovore, or carnivore. All those are on the proper human diet spectrum. The weight loss is going to come, but it may not come as fast as you want it to. But keep in mind, you are receiving hundreds of other health benefits, both physical health and mental health benefits, from removing the slow poisons from your diet that are in the modern diet. So don't worry that if the weight loss is not coming as fast as you'd like for it to. Tia says, sorry for the weird question, but does being out in the rain really make us sick? What would our ancestors would have done? Yeah, Tia, this is a huge myth that most grandmothers and moms still believe, and many dads as well, is that if you go out in the cold without your coat on or your hat, in some cultures, if you go out without your scarf or your mittens, that you will get sick. because you were exposed to the cold. And then other places, other people believe that if you go out in the rain and you get wet with rain, you will get magically sick somehow, like the rain carries viruses. There's zero evidence to support this. There's actually a lot of studies that have been done that just going out into the cold without your mittens or your scarf or your hat or your coat, going out into the cold naked, will not make you catch a cold or a flu. Colds and flus and other viruses and bacterial infections are caused by viruses and bacteria. That's what they're caused by. And so if you get really, really cold, like to the point of almost being hypothermic, then that may weaken your system enough that a virus that's already in your nose or in your throat, it may be able to get a toehold and take off with an active infection. But the cold itself, the rain itself, have nothing to do with you catching a cold or a flu or any other virus or any other bacteria. I used to, when I played high school basketball, I had a high school coach that believed after practice in the winter, you must never leave the gym with your head wet with sweat or wet from the shower. You had to wear a sweater, a hoodie. You had to have your head covered. You could have a toboggan, you could have a hat. You had to have something on your head, or he believed in his heart of hearts that you would get sick. And so we all had to honor that rule. And even then, I used to think, I thought viruses and bacteria made you sick when I was in high school. Like, I don't think it's having a wet head. I don't think that's what does it. It's a good question. Not very weird at all. Kathy says, would rinds help increase my fat intake? Pork rinds are a perfect blend of fat and protein. And if they are cooked in a good, healthy oil, I think that pork rinds are part of a proper human diet. Tabitha says, can I reverse? Oh, Tabitha, your question. It disappeared. Where did it go? Hang on, Tabitha. Oh. Hey, thanks, Holly, for the super chat. Dang it. Now that's really annoying. Why did it do that? YouTube, please fix that. How am I supposed to answer questions when they just magically jump? Sorry, Tabitha. Angie, yesterday was beautiful here in South Georgia. I didn't sunburn for the first time ever. Can fasting help recover from dental surgery? Yes, it can. So what Angie's alluding to here is many people, when they eliminate all the vegetable seed oils from their diet, the canola oil, the soybean oil, sunflower, safflower, all those vegetable seed oils, and they replace those oils with ancestrally appropriate and healthy animal fats like butter and ghee and lard and beef tallow. They actually start because you're replacing skin cells constantly, right? The average skin cell lives for a month to maybe 6 months, depending on which cell. And so they're constantly being replaced. And when you're eating too many omega-6 rich vegetable seed oils, you're actually using inappropriate fats to make the cell membranes of your skin cells. And your skin cells definitely will sunburn easier when they are made with these inappropriate fats. But it's very, very likely that your risk of skin cancer would go up. And I think probably that's why we're seeing the epidemic of skin cancer is not because the sun magically somehow became our enemy, because we've been playing in the sun for 3 million years. But I think it's the increase in vegetable oils in every single processed food-like product on the planet. All of our skin cells are made from inappropriate fats. And so Angie, now that she's using animal fats, she can go out and play in the sun for a much longer period of time and not get sunburned. I've noticed this, hundreds of people. Any of you guys noticed that now that you're eating healthy animal fats that you can play in the sun longer without getting a sunburn? I definitely have noticed this myself. All right. Mr. Monty Fontaine. Hi, Dr. Berry. Is it normal after 5 weeks of carnivore to actually see my skin a little worse for a while? I've also noticed I have some dandruff. Is this to be expected at all? I have psoriasis. Monty, there might be a little adjustment in your skin microbiome, and that may be what you're noticing. But this is a temporary adjustment that's moving in a good direction. Virtually every single carnivore I talk to says that their skin, without exception, gets better as months go on a carnivore diet. So I would stick with it, Mr. Monty Fontaine, and I Kelton Houston, why is fasting harder with the standard American diet? Meaning feeling like death compared to how easy it is to fast on a carnivore diet, which is mildly uncomfortable at worst. Yeah. So when you're eating a high carbohydrate diet and when you're eating a diet rich in vegetable seed oils, many people think that they stimulate your appetite. And then we definitely know that when you eat a high carb diet, you're going to get a huge insulin spike, and that's going to shove all that glucose into your cells and other places, or turn it into fat, and then you're hungry again 2 hours later. So it's really a standard American diet. Now, if you're tough enough to do it, you will still reap some of the health benefits of intermittent fasting. Not as much as if you're also eating a proper human diet, but that's why so many people, when they go keto, ketovore, carnivore, they wind up just accidentally fasting, because the healthy fat and healthy protein that's in a ketogenic or a carnivore diet are so satiating that when you've eaten until you're full and you stop eating, you're not hungry again for many, many hours afterwards. And that's one of the reasons it helps with fat burning, but that's also, it makes it so much easier to fast, so you can actually unlock that ancient strategy to reap untold health benefits from the intermittent fasting that so many of you guys are doing. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It makes it so much harder to fast if you're eating high carb or if you're eating the vegetable seed oils. Sherry says, who does Nisha recommend for ingestible essential oils? Nisha uses Young Living oils, which are a food grade essential oil. I think that doTERRA is also food grade, or at least some of their oils are. For Young Living, I know they come in with a white cap if they are ingestible. Definitely never, ever ingest an essential oil that you buy from one of the big box stores. They are notoriously not edible. They are not good for you. Got Mr. Monty. Angie, gastric bypass in 2001, lost 200 pounds. In the past 3 years, I've gained 90 pounds back. Will keto work for me? 100%, Angie. There are many, many people in the keto sphere who have had Roux-en-Y or other forms of bariatric surgery who are able to keto just fine. And Angie is finding out that most people think a gastric bypass is permanent weight loss, but it is not. You still, if you're eating an inappropriate diet, like Angie probably is, then you're gonna overeat carbohydrates. You're gonna eat appetite stimulating and fat storage stimulating inflammatory foods, and you're gonna slowly gain the weight back. So Angie, 100%, check out my Keto 101 playlist on YouTube. Get started, and I promise you'll be happy you did. Steve Jackson, thanks for the super chat, my friend. Tube Powered says, I just started keto a week ago. Thank you for the wealth of high quality information that helped me make the choice. No questions today. Thank you very much for a super chat, Tube Powered. Jody Fitz, my doctor is concerned about my alkaline phosphatase being elevated. I do not have a gallbladder. It was removed 30 years ago. Have been keto for 10 months. Jody, have your doctor check a fractionated alkaline phosphatase level, and that will actually break it up. The alkaline phosphatase can be elevated for multiple different reasons. If you have a bone issue, if you have a gut issue, even if you have a reproductive organ issue, it can cause an elevated alk phos. It's not just a liver lab, and a fractionated alkaline phosphatase will tease that out for your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't know what a fractionated alkaline phosphatase is, then you can teach your doctor something. Thanks, Angela, for the super chat. All right, I think I'm caught up now. Let's see. Susan, is it possible to get any protein from supplements? My 87-year-old mother is needing more protein, but not like the protein drinks like Ensure they have suggested. Yeah, there are multiple good protein powders. I would get a protein powder that is beef sourced. You can actually get beef protein powders now. If not, a whey protein powder is pretty darn good for somebody like your mom. Any of you guys, if you have an elderly relative or a young relative who drinks any of the Ensure products, I would highly 100% recommend you throw that shit in the garbage and get them a better source of protein and nutrients. Ensure is processed crap. It is just read the ingredients. There's about 85 ingredients in each little can, and that's a huge red flag right off the bat. I wish they wouldn't jump around like that. It makes it hard to get everybody. Okay, I got that one. Tracy says, is keto, is it good for type 2 diabetes? You can use a ketogenic diet or a ketovore or a carnivore diet, all of which I have videos about on this channel, to completely reverse type 2 diabetes, to get rid of it. Same goes for fatty liver. You can get rid of fatty liver within a few weeks by eating a keto or a carnivore diet. Deborah says, I am 68 years old, been on keto for a few weeks now. Can I safely do an extended fast, or should I stick to intermittent fasting? It's a good question, Deborah. If you've done great with intermittent fasting thus far, and that would be like fasting 16, 18, 20 hours every day, and then you're like, I want to do a 24-hour fast, I think that's perfectly fine, perfectly safe for you, depending on which medications you may be still taking that are prescription medications. If you want to do a 48-hour fast, I think that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're sipping on some water, getting your electrolytes and some salt. More than 48 hours, I would really work up to that, unless I don't think it's dangerous to fast for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. But I think it is much easier if you work up to that. So once you're doing an 18-hour fast every day, then you can just mark a day on the calendar and say, I'm doing a 24-hour fast that day. And then after a few days of you recover from that, you go back to your intermittent fasting. And then maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, you're like, I'm going to do a 48-hour fast. Yes, do it. Absolutely. It's very good for you. It's very healthy. It's very safe. Found one that works says, does coffee cause impaired glucose tolerance? Not to any appreciable degree in the vast majority of people. Maybe in a few people they have problems with this, but the vast majority of people can drink coffee just fine. It doesn't cause any untoward metabolic problems. Okay, I've already answered. Oh, there's Tabitha's. Okay, Tabitha. Can I reverse AERD? Samster's triad. Also have Sjogren's, AS, and Hashimoto's. I had Graves' disease and my thyroid was radiated, so they killed her thyroid 15 years ago. I'm now 40, not overweight. My AERD. So all of your conditions, especially the autoimmune conditions, are going to, your symptoms are going to be less severe, and you're going to have less frequent flare-ups if you remove all of the inflammatory, slow poison food or food from your diet. Does that make sense? And so stop all the sugars, both added and natural. Stop all the grains. Grains are great foods for prisoners and slaves. Very cheap. It'll keep you from starving to death, but it's going to cause long-term health consequences. Same goes for the vegetable seed oils. Get all those out of your diet, Tabitha. And then make sure at least half your plate is covered with fatty meat and eggs every meal. If you want to add some dark green veg, if you want to add a few nuts, if you want to add a few berries, I think that's fine. But you do not want to be eating anything that is made in a chemical factory, because it will piss off your immune system and you will have a worsening of your autoimmune symptoms. Good question. Future Breeze says, what's an acceptable blood pressure? So this is a good question, because a lot of you guys don't know. You think currently that 120/80 that's normal. That's an arbitrary number that was picked by the American Heart Association, and several other of the medical associations adopted that. It's based on atrocious research. When you get somebody, because you have to take medication to get your blood pressure that low for the vast amount of adults, and you're going to start to have side effects. You're going to start having people who faint, pass out, hit their head, get a subdural hematoma, get a bad brain bleed. You're going to have people who break a wrist, break a shoulder, break a hip because they got lightheaded when they stood up because they're on too much blood pressure medication. The American Academy of Family Physicians did not adopt this. Your blood pressure of 145, that 145 is pushing it on the top number, but the bottom number being 75 is gorgeous. So keep lowering the carbohydrate intake, Future Breeze, and when you get your insulin level back down to low normal, that 145 will probably come down to 135, and then that is a splendid, perfect blood pressure for an adult. All right. Oh, here's somebody who says, where'd it go? Dang it. Really annoying, YouTube, really annoying. They said, how do I talk to my doctor about coming off statins? So if you are an adult in any country of the world, if you're 18 years of age or older, you have a right of self-determination. You don't need your doctor's permission to stop your statin. There is no withdrawal process for stopping a statin. You can just throw it in the garbage. Okay. Now, I want you to make an informed decision before you do that. I don't want you to just blindly do that. I want you to have a discussion with your doctor and ask your doctor to show you the research that applies to you specifically of how that it's going to lengthen your life. Because when you look at all of the statin research in totality, if you take a statin daily for 20 years, it's going to add about 3 days to your life. And that comes with all the potential side effects that statins have. And so I've got lots of videos about statins. Watch videos by Dr. David Diamond, like the diamond in your ring. He is a PhD researcher at the University of South Florida. He has a ton of brilliant information about statins and why you might not need to take them. Somebody lost 95 pounds on keto. I love it. Putinwurst says, can you do keto carnivore on fish and seafood only? 100% yes. And if you are a nerd like me, uber nerd, and you get into the paleoanthropological literature, there were huge societies of human beings who 95% of their food came from the ocean. Yeah, they were stuck kind of like an island situation, but you don't always have to be on an island to be in an island type situation, speaking just as a society. And so if they were walled off by mountains or anything, and the only thing they had access to was the sea, 100% you can do keto or carnivore with fish and seafood only, 100%. The Fasting Chronicles, can a low-carb diet plus intermittent fasting help with my gout? Yep. Fasting Chronicles, I actually have a YouTube video about gout and what actually causes it. The vast majority of people who adopt a keto or a carnivore way of eating just don't have gout flare-ups anymore. Or they might have an occasional gout flare-up once a year that's 10% as severe as it used to be back when they were eating their old diet. Susan says, I found your channel recently. I'm making changes slowly to keto. Beautiful. My A1C was 9, which is really bad, Susan. You know that. I have already stopped Mountain Dew, 100%, after 30 plus years of being addicted to it. And I'm down 6 pounds in about 3 weeks. I have to retrain my brain. Yes, you do. And I'll tell you, San Pellegrino, sparkling water, I used to be addicted to Diet Mountain Dew. And San Pellegrino helped me. Any sparkling water is going to help you break your addiction to either regular soft drinks or diet soft drinks, neither of which I think is optimally good for you. Santiago says, can you talk about SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? Yes, Santiago, once you adopt a proper human diet, SIBO, if you even have it, because it's very oftenly overdiagnosed by naturopaths and other people who are kind of into alternative medicine, they'll very frequently diagnose you with SIBO based on no diagnostic studies whatsoever. And so, but if you do have SIBO, that's going to quickly correct itself when you stop eating all the unnecessary carbohydrates and sugars and fructose. Nisha and Beckett are back from bowling. They went bowling with the church folks today. All right. Somebody says, can you do intermittent fasting if you have PCOS? 100% yes. No ifs, ands, or buts. And it is going to help you, any of you ladies with PCOS or with fibroids or with endometriosis. If you adopt a very, very low carbohydrate diet full of real, one ingredient, real human food, and then adopt some degree of intermittent fasting, your symptoms are going to improve so drastically that you'll feel like you don't even have the condition anymore. Hey, Nisha. What you doing? I'm doing a live on YouTube. D. Jerome, thanks for the super chat. D. Jerome, is it possible to eat too late with the PhD? I noticed when I started working out after work and eating later, my weight has not went down as much. It's probably not the eating late, and this has confused a lot of researchers and a lot of health gurus and fitness gurus out there. I don't think it's the lateness or the closeness to bedtime that you eat, but when you do eat later, you're basically having a shorter intermittent fast each day, aren't you? Right. So if you had stopped eating at 6 p.m., D. Jerome, then you would have had a 18 or a 20-hour fast, right? But since you ate at 9:30 right before bed, now you're only going to have a 14-hour fast. So you don't have the length of that intermittent fast tacked on to your sleeping hours. And I think that's why the fat loss is slower and other health benefits are slower if you eat too late. You just don't have that long intermittent fast that you would have otherwise. Mimi Hugs, 2 months in on keto, finally got into steady ketosis and lowered blood sugar, but the fat is killing my stomach. What do you suggest? Will I adapt? Mimi, I wish you'd been a little more specific about how the fat was killing your stomach. Some people who are not used to eating a lot of healthy fat, their stomach or their gallbladder or their liver will give them some issues, sometimes your intestines, but human beings are made to eat lots of animal protein and lots of animal fat. That has been our diet for over 2 million years. So just give your tummy time and it will adjust to a proper human diet. It's almost like, for a lot of us, it's like an alcoholic who's just been living on bourbon for years and years and years. When you say, hey, dude, that's not healthy, that's bad for you, here, eat this food and drink this water, that alcoholic, if you've ever experienced somebody, I have in that situation, not personally, but as a doctor, they feel like death on a cracker when they actually start eating real food and drinking water and not living on the alcohol calories. They feel terrible. And it takes them a few days and sometimes even a few weeks for their gut to wake back up and go, oh yeah, food, I forgot about that. And that's probably the same type of thing that's happening to you, Mimi. Thanks, Kim P, for the super chat. Grancy E says, I am miserable with my weight, but just don't know how to force myself to get started. You don't have to force yourself, Grancy. Just start watching my Keto 101 videos. And every day, eat less high carbohydrate junk and eat more good, healthy, real human food that's full of healthy fat and healthy protein. That's going to help you be satiated. Okay. And when you're satiated, that means you're not hungry. And it's easy. It's less hard to say no to junk food if you're also not hungry. But now, if you're hungry and you're craving the junk, you're going to fail every time. And that's why I tell people, when you first start keto, if you start to get hungry or you start to think about junk, fill your face hole with bacon and eggs immediately, because that way you're not going to have any room for the junk. And it's also going to be easier or less hard to say no to the junk food that you 100% know that you should say no to. We got Mitzi and Powell in here. They're my moderators. I don't know if Kevin's with us or not today. I haven't seen his name go by, but they have the little blue wrench by their name. And if they see just obvious beginner questions, they'll actually answer you in the comments. So, because I definitely can't answer every question. We got almost 1,900 people in here asking me questions. So they're trying to answer even more questions. Mike says, how much fat should I eat per day? Mike, you should eat fat and protein until you're comfortably stuffed. Either 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, or even 3 meals a day in a time-restricted feasting window of 6 or 8 hours. And so that's the beautiful thing about a proper human diet. If you're eating lots of healthy fat and healthy protein, you don't have to count all the macros. You can if you want to, and maybe some people need to do that if they're counters and recorders, but you don't. That's not necessary if you're doing this right. Matthew says, what are your thoughts on DHEA as a supplement for men over 40? Many men over 40 and some women over 40 need a DHEA supplement until they've gotten their diet fixed. Once you're eating a proper human diet, typically your DHEA will come up within normal range and you won't have to supplement that forever. All right. Let's see here. Mimi. Oh, thank you, Mimi, for the super chat. Neil Wing. Hello, just started 2 weeks ago, hoping to fix my enlarged prostate. Lost 12 pounds, and I'm not even out of shape. Thank you so much. Excellent, Niall. I've got a YouTube video about prostate and how this way of eating affects your prostate. If you haven't already watched that, you can check that out. Dan Wilson. My A1C went from 8.4 to 5.9, and my weight's 245. It went from 245 down to 222. This on 4 meds, cut all but 2 of the 4 out. Metformin, have I cut too much medication? That's a conversation to have for your doctor, Dan. If your blood sugars are looking better and your blood pressure is looking very good, then you may not have needed medication any longer for your blood sugar and your blood pressure. But any of you guys, if you're thinking about stopping medications other than statins, then definitely talk to your doctor, okay, and or help your doctor, especially if you have type 1 diabetes and you're trying to do a proper human diet. You need to have a doctor who understands how to help you lower your insulin injections quickly, because you won't need nearly as much insulin. Good question. Thanks, Mitzi and Paola, for answering questions. You guys are wonderful. I don't know if Granny Berry's watching today or not. Too stubborn to quit. She always watches Monday night at 7 p.m. That's when Nisha and I do our live every Monday night at 7 p.m. So if you haven't caught that yet, people say it's pretty entertaining. We just try to help people, but people seem like they like it. But Granny definitely will be watching Monday night. So tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central. I don't know if she's watching today or not. Yeah, Mimi says bloating. I don't have a gallbladder. So yeah, Mimi, give your liver time, give your hepatic ducts time to take on a storage capacity for bile, and keep slowly increasing your fat intake. And before long, you'll be eating fat like a champ. M. Moore says, would taking an Epsom salt bath help in any way with carnivore diet or keto? So Epsom salt is a magnesium salt, and a lot of people feel like it really relaxes their muscles to take an Epsom salt bath. But when you try to find research about how much magnesium is actually absorbed through the skin, it's very, very difficult to do that research, because you can't just check their serum magnesium before the Epsom salt bath and after the Epsom salt bath. That doesn't help you at all. We've tried, researchers have tried checking RBC magnesium. They've tried checking intracellular magnesium. It's just hard to know if you absorb much magnesium through your skin or not. But if you enjoy the Epsom salt baths and they seem to relax you and help you, then 100% do them. I think they're fine. No danger at all. But I would not count on an Epsom salt bath as my magnesium source. I would get magnesium from food. All right, we talked to Dan, we talked to Mimi, we talked to Niall. Oh, Sonia, brother had Hodgkin's 10 years ago. Small heart event in October of last year. Was told chemo radiation damaged his heart. It's very common depending on where you get the radiation directed at. He's now on Lipitor, aspirin, Plavix, blood pressure med every day. Doctor said no keto. So, Sonia, your brother's doctor is currently ignorant, and that's okay. Calling someone ignorant that's not a derogatory term. That just means your doctor doesn't understand what keto actually is. A lot of doctors still think keto is some weird fad diet that's very sciencey and weird, and it might cause ketoacidosis. They don't understand that human beings have been eating a diet that put them into ketosis for over 2 million years. It's not weird. It's not a fad. It is the oldest diet that humans have eaten on the planet. So so basically your doctor's saying that your brother shouldn't eat meat and veg. That literally is the human diet. Yeah, meat and veg. That's what keto is. Keto is not weird. It's not some sciencey, esoteric thing. It's meat and veg. That's keto. So if your doctor thinks that meat and veg is dangerous for humans, your doc maybe should read a book about nutrition. Billy Green, hi, I'm 57-year-old, 6'4", 240, 1 functional kidney and stage 3 chronic kidney disease with a creatinine at 1.6. to 1.3. What do you feel about keto for someone like me? So keto is one of the most kidney protective diets on the planet. The reason that we have a dialysis clinic on every corner now is because people have been eating high carbohydrate junk food diets and destroying their kidneys. Eating a diet full of healthy fat and healthy protein is good for your kidneys. Eating fatty red meat is good for your kidneys. There is no research that shows it's bad. And I know your doctor, Billy, probably told you got to avoid too much protein. It's bad for your kidneys. Go back to your doctor, Billy, and ask them, could you show me the research that proved that eating too much protein, too much meat is bad for my kidneys? Because this is one of the biggest myths in modern medicine. There's no research to support it whatsoever. Billy, you are a Homo sapien sapien. You need to eat a diet that is rich in fatty meat and eggs. Too Stubborn to Quit says, thank you, Grandma Berry, for raising a good grandson and supporting a wonderful granddaughter-in-law. Granny Berry literally saved me from a life of crime. Yeah, she's the best. Granny Berry is the bomb diggity. I hope she's watching. Hey, Granny Berry, if you're watching. Minnie Pearl has this is an interesting question. Does our body know when to shut off weight loss? Yes, it does. Your body, just like Minnie, you're not thinking about breathing right now. How many times are you breathing a minute? You have no idea. You didn't even know you were breathing until I said this. But obviously you are, right? How many times a minute is your heart beating? Are you not keeping up with that? No. Your heart beats whether you track it or not. You breathe whether you track it or not. And your body knows when you've reached a good, healthy body fat percentage, and it's going to slow down the weight loss unless you're calorie restricting. Now, if you're starving yourself, you'll keep losing weight inappropriately, and that's unhealthy. But if you're eating until you're comfortably stuffed on a proper human diet, full of healthy fat and healthy protein, and that's very, very low carb, and it's not made in a factory, you'll lose fat until you get down to a good, healthy body fat, and then you'll stay there. Just like every animal in the wild, they have a perfect body fat percentage unless they have access to human garbage, human waste. Then they'll get obese too. But I'm talking about an animal in the wild eating their species-specific diet. You never see a fat deer. You never see a fat anything. Bears gain some weight in the fall so that they can hibernate all winter. That was basically the main use for fruit and berries, is to put on weight for the winter. But if it's never winter now. There's always food in the fridge here in our society. So you don't have to worry about putting on fat for the winter. But there are no fat wild animals unless they have access to a garbage dump of humans' highly processed, high-carb food. They never get fat, and they eat till they're full, right? Think about that. We are a mammal, just like every other mammal on the planet. And we're like, I don't know, something's wrong with us. We get fat so easy. No, there's not something wrong with you, my friend. There's something wrong with the diet that we're told to eat. Sean says, I've given up carbs except coconut water. Will ruin my keto diet effects if I keep it in my diet. I cycle regularly, play soccer, and lift weights. Sean, as long as you account for the carbohydrates and you keep the total carbohydrates under about 20 total grams a day, they can pretty much come from anything, even fruit and honey. But just keep your total carbohydrate intake very, very low each day, and you're going to do fine. Excellent. Guys, as I said earlier, if you have a friend or a family member you think could benefit from this information, please share this video with them. Or you can share it on your own social media. Thanks, Ron, for the super chat. Thank you very much. Dapper Dave, I am sorry. I'm trying to get every super chat. I'm sorry I missed yours. I'm trying to find all of them. Let me see here if I can find Dapper Dave. I try to answer all the questions I can, and I try to never miss a super chat, but sometimes they're coming fast and furious. Dapper Dave, where are you? I just don't, I scroll back as far as I can and I don't see it, Dave. I'm very, very sorry. Charles says, doctor didn't check my A1C. He said he didn't need to because my hemoglobin was normal. Is this true? Should I get it checked on the side? Okay. So Charles has found a huge chink in his doctor's armor of knowledge. His doctor doesn't know the difference between a hemoglobin A1C and a hemoglobin. Those are two completely different tests. So Charles could be running around with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, and he would never know it because his currently ignorant doctor thinks that if his hemoglobin level is normal, then his hemoglobin A1C must be normal. You guys, you look up to doctors and respect them almost and give them demigod status. But at the end of the day, doctors are just dudes and chicks, just like you. They are fallible. They miss things. They try very hard to do a good job, but it's impossible not to miss things. But now, Charles, if your doctor thinks that a hemoglobin level and a hemoglobin A1C level are the same, that's scary. You need to find a new doctor, Charles. That's really, really bad. All right. Let me make sure I don't miss. Thank you, Michael Rose, for the super chat. Sonia, I already answered Sonia's. I already got Billy Green. Michael Rose says, why does my insulin spike after I eat protein like a steak? So, Michael, how do you know your insulin spikes? There's currently not a home test for insulin. But with that being said, do you mean your blood sugar spiking? If so, then you probably still have some degree of metabolic syndrome or hyperinsulinemia, and you need to keep your carbs very low and let your metabolism keep healing. Your metabolism, your insulin is going to go up when you eat protein. And so for people who don't know, when you eat carbohydrates, your insulin is going to do this. It's going to spike up really high. When you eat protein, it's going to go up, but about like that, right? But when you eat fat, it's barely going to go up. And that's why some people can put butter in their fasting coffee and it doesn't really break a fast. Your insulin is going to grow up when you eat protein, Michael, but it's not going to spike like it does when you eat carbohydrates. Yeah, if any doctor tells you that eating meat and eggs or eating meat and veg is bad for you, it's actually good that they tell you that, because that reveals to you that they do not understand a damn thing about how to feed a human being. We cut our teeth on meat and eggs for the last 2.5 million years. To say meat and eggs is bad for you it's ignorant. And I'm sure they mean well, but they just don't know what they're talking about. All right, I've already got that one. Already answered Sean. Okay, I think I'm back. Thanks for the super chat, Ron. Thanks, Calypso Ken Wells. SAD blocked up my heart. Standard American diet. Yep, that's what blocks hearts. It's too many carbs, too much vegetable seed oils, too much fructose. I got 4 stents in December. 2 months on Carnivore. I've went from 200 pounds to 180 pounds. My LDL is 70. Cardiologist says if I quit the statins, I'll block back up and be back in for a bypass, looking for a low-carb doctor in my area. Yeah, Ken, you absolutely need a doctor who understands proper human nutrition in a low-carbohydrate diet. I've got a YouTube video called How to Find a Low-Carb Keto Doctor Near You. And in the show notes of that video, there's 5 or 6 websites you can put your zip code in. And you might be surprised that there's a low-carb doctor an hour or two from you, and that would be very, very good for your long-term health. I don't know how to pronounce that. Said net carbs are crap. Total carbs will do you right. And it's not that net carbs are crap. Net carbs can be deceptive. Now, if you're eating broccoli or Brussels sprouts or some naturally occurring plant food that has fiber in it, I trust broccoli. And so if you're eating broccoli, you can count net carbs. I think that's fine. But if you're eating anything that's highly processed, including keto treats that are made with nut flours, or anything made with wheat flour, rice flour, oat flour, any of that kind of crap, you got to count total carbs, because the manufacturers will lie to you. They will mislead you and tell you that something is soluble fiber, when in fact your small intestine breaks it down and it's carbs. That's why I've just come to say count total carbs, and that way you don't have to do two calculations. Okay, for all the vegetables, I'm going to do net carbs, and for all the processed crap, I'm going to do total carbs. Just do total carbs and be done with it. It's much easier. Why would you not? The manufacturers want you to count net carbs because that allows them to put things in there like chicory fiber, which is not fiber the way you understand fiber, or oat fiber. Some even use wheat fiber. And they'll use that and call it fiber, and then they don't have to count it on the as a sugar, as a carb, right? As a simple carb, but it still breaks down in your small intestine, and you get carbs out of it. And for many people, they think they're doing keto because they're eating keto bread and eat keto shakes and all these keto cookies, cakes, and pies, and they're counting net carbs. And they think they're staying under 20 net a day, but actually, if you counted total, they're probably getting 150 total grams of carbs a day. And that will stall the vast majority of us. All right. Thank you, Ranchland08, for the super chat. Melissa says, is almond flour bad? Well, yeah, it's a good question. So what about almond flour? What about coconut flour? What about all the other nut flours that are definitely less bad than wheat flour, and in many cases would be considered keto approved. But the problem with nut flours is that they've been ground up completely. You don't have to expend any energy chewing them up. And you're also going to tend to eat way more nuts eating nut flour in a muffin or a cupcake or a cake than you would ever eat if you just ate a few nuts out of your hand. And if any of you have ever cracked nuts with a hammer or with ancestrally appropriately would be with a rock, it's not easy. If you've ever tried to crack a black walnut or any of these nuts with a rock, even with a hammer, it's hard work. And you'll, after 4 or 5 nuts, you'll say, okay, that's enough. I'm done with nuts. But when you're eating things made of nut flours, it's very easy to overeat that. And then if you have diverticulosis, I think the nut flours are just as likely to give you a flare-up of diverticulitis because of the processing as eating almond flour or eating wheat flour in many cases. Nisha and I, when we first started keto, we ate all the keto treats and the fat bombs and the keto cookies, cakes, and pies. And that was better. That was less bad than eating the standard American crap. But now we just never eat that stuff. It just doesn't even occur to us that that's real food anymore. I eat meat and eggs, and Nisha eats meat and eggs and veg. And baby Beckett, who's almost 2.5 now, he eats meat and eggs and a few nuts here and there, a few berries here and there, a little bit of veg here and there. But he's basically a ketovore toddler, and his development is off the charts. I would put him up against any 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old out there, developmental wise. He's doing wonderful. And all my kids did wonderful, but Beckett he's breaking the curve of all the berry kids just because he's got such a head start with such a proper human diet. All right, yep, there we go. Robin Lee, diagnosed with NSVT and SVT, only 30 pounds to lose. Will PhD help decrease frequency of arrhythmias? Yeah, Robin, many people have reached out to me on my YouTube videos in the comments, and then in my private Patreon group, and said, I used to have SVT, attacks all the time. I used to have AFib constantly. I used to have palpitations constantly, and now on this way of eating, it's not like they magically cured my SVT, but I just don't have the runs of SVT anymore. I don't have those episodes where I have to go to the ER and get converted. And so definitely follow up with your cardiologist, Robin. But 100% eat a proper human diet. Yes, ma'am. Danita just started 3 weeks ago, but watched you two a long time. Been eating clean keto, but still low energy. Is that odd? Yeah, Danita, make sure you're using enough salt in your diet. Make sure you're getting your electrolytes. Make sure you're getting enough healthy fats, and make sure that you are not portion controlling. Many of us come to keto carnivore with the that unconscious voice in your head that's like, oh, that's too much. Don't get that much. Just get half that much. If you're eating highly processed crap, you do need to portion control. But when you start eating real human food, your body's going to let you know. And so, Danita, you may be unconsciously portion controlling and just not getting enough fat and protein. Or you may just not be getting enough fat, period. Make sure you're getting plenty of omega-3 fatty acid sources, plenty of salt, plenty of electrolytes, and make sure you're getting plenty of minerals. I'm working on another YouTube video now about minerals in our food. And I found an article in Acres magazine. I'm a rancher and a farmer now, if you didn't know. And so I've got all these magazines coming that are for ranchers and farmers. And this guy had an article in there about how beets, they picked that at random. If you raise beets properly, they have like 200% more magnesium. And they actually have more protein, like 2 or 3 times as much protein. They have less just sodium, but they have all these other electrolytes and minerals and even protein in them when you raise vegetables appropriately, which would be organically raising them, not using all the chemical fertilizers and the depleted soil. That's why I work with Keto Chow to make the daily mineral drops, just to make sure that we're getting our minerals. Because especially if you guys have any relatives who still eat the standard American crap diet, they 100% need some minerals, because they're not getting any minerals to speak of at all. Lisa says, Dr. Berry, can you do a video on eating keto for people with a high metabolism who don't need to lose weight? Yeah. So, Lisa, as I hinted at this earlier, but let me say it explicitly here. Ketovore, Carnivore are not weight loss diets. They are weight optimization diets. So when you put a skinny person on keto, they're not going to lose more weight. They're what they're probably going to do is put on more bone strength and actually put on some muscle naturally without even really working out. They're not going to keep losing weight. When you lose down to an ideal body weight, if you started overweight, you're going to stop losing weight. And so if you have a slender spouse who are like, dude, I'm skinny, I don't need no keto, they're going to still reap hundreds of other health benefits, but they're not going to keep losing weight. That's not how keto works. Thank you, Mr. Wobble Knocker. That's really his name. I didn't make that up. Patty says, thank you so much. We are elderly, 84, 75, and 41, and in the throes of metabolic diseases, including dementia, all losing weight and looking good. 100%, Patty. Keep it up. We've had many people reach out to us and say that a loved one's dementia, the progression of it slowed down tremendously and seemed to even regress. And they actually became more mentally alert when they started feeding their brain the healthy fat that's going to come in a keto or carnivore diet. David, my wife tried the carnivore diet and her lunula turned pink. Weird, I know, having blood work done in 2 days. Yeah, that is weird, David. It's weird that you know what a lunula is. It's also weird that hers turned pink. Does long-term keto, well, the question slipped, but I can answer it. Does long-term keto hurt the kidneys? No. Does long-term keto hurt the liver? No. Does long-term keto hurt any single part of a human body? No. Keto is meat and veg. That is the diet that humans have eaten our entirety of existence on this planet. How is the proper human diet going to hurt any body part? Think about that. That just doesn't make any sense. I'm sure your dietitian or your doctor told you that, but it doesn't make any sense. Just stop calling it keto. And when your doctor says, okay, or, how's your diet? Just say, oh, I'm eating meat and veg and I'm doing great. I mean, what doctor is going to say, oh, don't eat vegetables and meat? That's not good for humans. What? Okay, I answered Robin Lee. I thought I missed one. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. In case you don't know, Nisha and I are going to be live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Every Monday at 7 p.m. Central, we do a live together and we answer a ton of questions, and we try to be somewhat entertaining. And Nisha is way more entertaining than me, much better looking than me, and also currently pregnant. So you should check us out tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Also, if I didn't get to your question today, you can become a patron on patreon.com. And you can sign up for $1 a month, $3 a month, $5 a month, and you can ask me your questions directly. We have 3 extra live Q&As in there every week. And instead of having 2,000 people watching like we do right now, we have 100 or 150. And so I'm able to answer way more questions in way more detail. Carrie picked up on my pun. Stop picking up my puns, Carrie. Nor says, which one is better, dry fasting or water fasting for 14 to 18 hours? So a dry fast, if you guys don't know, that's when you don't eat or drink anything at all, including water. And if anybody out there tells you it's dangerous to do a dry fast for 14 hours, that's dumb. Think about it. You dry fast every night when you're in bed asleep for 8 hours. You don't eat or drink, right? So you're going to tack 6 more hours onto that, and it's imagine some suddenly becomes dangerous. Where's the magical cutoff? Is it 9 hours or 10 hours of a dry fast or 12, 14? Where does it become magically dangerous? And so I think any of you guys, if you want to experiment with dry fasting, it's perfectly safe and fine as long as you don't go over 24 hours of a dry fast. And it's still at that point, it's probably not dangerous, but you need to be working with somebody, a doctor or dietitian or somebody who understands how the human body reacts to longer fasts. But if you want to dry fast for 14 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, there's no danger to that. That's silly to act like that's dangerous. But now if you're going to do a 7-day dry fast, that's probably not good for you. Don't do that. Kevin says, I eat a lot of beef, bacon, and eggs. Is it harmful to add pork, lamb, chicken to my diet for variety? No, I don't think so. I think it's fine if you want to add those foods in. Now, keep in mind that ruminant meat seems to be the healthiest meat for humans, and that would be beef, that would be veal, that would be sheep, mutton, lamb chop, that would be goat, that would be venison, that would be elk, caribou, moose, water buffalo. Things that have a multi-chamber stomach seem to be the healthiest meats for humans to eat. It seems to be the meat that we always tried to go after, but I think if you want to add some pork and chicken with your beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, I think that's totally fine. Somebody says they dry fast for 18 hours every single day, and they've done it for a long time. Everybody's saying hi to you, Neisha Berry. Oh, did you say hi? Okay, I didn't see your comment. Danny Hendricks, thank you for suggesting PRP and prolotherapy. I thought that stuff was BS, but I understand why PRP would help because of growth factors. But how the heck would sugar water prolotherapy help with spondylitis? So the reason that the prolotherapy is when you inject just a glucose solution into the joint or into the tissue, it irritates the tissue, Danny. It's just like an acute inflammatory process, and that's going to stimulate your own inflammatory process, which will bring all of your own healing and growth factors. Whereas PRP injection therapy is going to pull out your growth and healing factors from your blood and then put them right where they need to be. There still needs to be a ton more research done on prolotherapy and PRP therapy, but I did both at the clinic before the fire, and I had so many guys cancel their knee replacement surgery. They're like, can I just do this PRP once a year? I'm like, yeah, you definitely can. And they're like, yeah, that, doing PRP plus eating keto, my knee don't even hurt anymore. So if you've got chronic knee arthritis and you're considering a joint replacement or a hip replacement or any kind of joint issue, eat a proper human diet, 100%, start today. And after 90 days of that, you probably won't have much joint pain left. But if you do, then you're going to start researching prolotherapy and PRP injection therapy. And hopefully we can help orthopedic surgeons find something else to do and stop replacing all these knees and hips. Steven says, I had my gallbladder removed 3 years ago, have lost weight consistently since then. I've tried multiple diets, many carbs and no carbs. Please help. So you've lost weight since you had your gallbladder out and you want to stop losing weight. Well, Stephen, when you get to an ideal body weight and an ideal body fat percentage, if you're eating a proper human diet, you'll stop losing weight. If you keep losing weight past that point, you need to go see your doctor immediately because something is wrong with you. Because mammals don't keep losing weight if they're eating to satiation of a species appropriate diet. They maintain a good, healthy weight. That's how we're hardwired. So if you're still losing weight, even eating keto full of meat and eggs, and your BMI is to the point where it's getting weirdly low, you need to go and have a thorough exam from your doctor. All right. right, let's get one more good question. I got Stevens. Let's see here. Worse. Michelle says, I added in cheese and I gained weight. I got to cut the cheese out. I love cheese. I'm the same way, Michelle. I think there's just too much bovine protein in cheese. Goat cheese and sheep's cheese doesn't seem to make me as inflamed and bloated and make me gain fat. But if I eat too much cow cheese, 100%, I will gain weight. And I freaking love cheese, but I also love ribeye and eggs. So I eat cheese as an occasional dessert. That's how I eat cheese. But if I ate as much cheese as I wanted, I would be 20 pounds heavier than I am right now. Lenora says, are pig's feet good to eat? I love them. Yes, Lenore, you can eat pig's feet every day. Nisha and I, we love to make bone broth with pig's feet, but we tried to eat them, and I don't love them. I don't love eating pig's feet, but man, do they make some magical bone broth. But yeah, if you love pig's feet or pig snout or pig ears, beef tongue, all those weird cuts that your friends look at you like, oh, how could you eat that? Yes, 100%. Humans have eaten that since before recorded history began. Walter Douglas, I've got a video about rheumatoid arthritis. Any of my videos concerning autoimmune conditions are going to help you get your rheumatoid arthritis symptoms under control. All right, guys, that's it. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Remember, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central, Nisha and I will be back right here. And then if you've got questions you really need to get answers to and your doctor's not helping you, look for my Patreon link down in the show notes. It's a super quick sign up, and you can ask your questions directly to me. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for sharing this video. I'll see you next time.